Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Scottsdale Living podcast. I am here with the John Doring of Scottsdale Living. Is that a big intro?
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. That's a little over the top, but we'll take
I love it. I'm here for it. And the Sarah Mendenhall of the ScottsdaleLiving.com. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, so people just don't know all the things. So we wanted to do a podcast episode. And Sarah, you're like the new, fascinating, most up-to-date member of the team. And you've been doing amazing things. So I really wanted to talk about kind of what brought you on this journey, what the Scottsdale Living website is, and how it got started. So tell us a little bit right now, why is the ScottsdaleLiving.com sexy? Why do we want to go to it?
Well, so the whole idea behind it is basically taking the community that John built, that's fantastic, and has all kinds of recommendations and businesses and everything great about Scottsdale, and putting it into one place so we can find everything easily, have access to finding fun things to do, best restaurants, where to stay, pretty much everything easily accessible to everyone.
I love it. Obviously, it's been amazingly useful. About how many businesses are actually part of the ScottsdaleLiving.com right now?
I think about 6,000, right?
Yeah, we imported a ton of businesses up front, so probably about 6,000 at this time. I mean, people can add their business as well, so there's been a lot of that going on, but it's a huge business directory. It's a great resource.
It's been amazing to see people pulling from the website.
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of traffic does it really get? What are you seeing? Because really, it was started and we're like, oh, we don't know who's going to use it. We had done an app before, right? And
disaster.
The website was, a way better idea and has become, a user guide for the community. And we had no idea it could be that big, right?
No,
like we just didn't know.
Yeah, so I think we launched in November, but we really kind of started kicking off the first of the year. And FeedSpot, who measures website traffic, said it's the fastest growing website that's Scottsdale based, which is really cool. So I think right now we're at about 8,500 unique users a month, which is crazy for a 3-month time period. And the beauty is it's like there was no single source in Scottsdale for everything Scottsdale, right? So that's kind of what we did. And the really, really cool part that Sarah can attest to is like everything on there is based on the group. So if we list something that's like the best physical therapist or the best Mexican restaurant, it's all based on the input of 50,000 people that live and visit Scottsdale.
Okay, so there was so much work that went into the back end of that. Sarah, that was like basically a cumulative year of protracting information, right? That came from the group. You had to like look at who was being recommended and why they were being recommended. And then it turned into kind of a quality check too, which was something that was newer that was put in, right? Like through verified businesses on Scottsdale Living Business Edition. So tell us about that process. Like, how do people know these are actually the 5 best burger places, and this is the place you want to go for a luxury steak dinner?
Right. Okay. So, a couple of things there. That building the website was kind of a chicken and the egg thing, because it was like I had to kind of come up with this whole strategy of it is a big web of guides, basically, and a directory. And so how is everything linked? How does it all make sense and go together to be a cohesive directory? And
how do you map it?
And then building the actual guides out of everything. So the content in the guides, like you're talking about, that took a series of going through and looking at recommendations. So searching the group and seeing when somebody puts in a question of what's the best nail salon, I'm looking for the best mani-pedi in the area, and seeing here are all of the ones that are recommended that are really popular and get a lot of recommendations, and then we'll throw out
polls. We'll do polls all the time too.
A survey and stuff. So he'll say, here it is. What is it? What's the best Italian restaurant? What's the best
taco spot?
Yeah,
sure, totally.
like because it is. Those are questions that people are going on to Scottsdale Living into the group to ask those recommendations. And so it was basically just pulling all of that and putting it into guides so it's easy to see. And
it's totally crazy because like Sarah's gone so much further in depth than I even thought. So, like a day trip guide, Sedona, spring training, happy hour, best brunch. Like we're trending right now online organically for Easter brunch. I mean, like the number 2 organic listing, which is just crazy. But so much time and effort goes into the guides, and she did a fantastic job on it. But it's just unbelievable resource for everything in the city.
Ooh, do we have one for private rentals for event spaces, like, or one for Airbnbs that are like, for groups?
Yeah, we absolutely
We do?
We have a specific article about B&Bs for bachelorettes.
Hot.
And cool
Mhm.
B&Bs to rent for bachelorettes. Another one for hotels for bachelorettes,
Mhm.
of fun places to stay. I actually just worked on a guide that's going to publish next month that isn't finished yet, but of spa days for friends. So if you're doing like a group spa day, of where are the best ones to go and what are the cool things that they offer for groups and stuff to come. So
It's crazy.
yeah, we have all that. We have like, if you're going to plan a party or any sort of destination thing, we've got party rental companies, party planners, caterers. I mean, pretty much everything you could ever need to throw something together in Scottsdale.
I love that. So as a business owner, I'm also listed on the directory. And I
Absolutely.
love that because I really can tailor my profile. I have like the top tier. Obviously, I'm on the team, so I can do this. But I can like put my YouTube videos of like the surgeons that I've had on, or I had your husband on the Scottsdale Top Docs podcast. His episode isn't out, but he's an IR doctor. And it was amazing to meet him, by the way. Thanks for the connection. And as we're going through that, that's somebody that I want to be represented in my community. So I can tag his video onto my profile, or tag something of my work, or something that really hit on social media. I can put that in my profile. I just think it's a great way for someone to handshake a company is through the website. So if I want them to know my business personally, I have the ability to go in there and tailor that. And I just think I don't know any other directories that allow me to do that. It's like a listing and a phone number and a click on where I am, like Yellow Pages. Ours is much more detailed than that. And I think that that's a highlight for business owners. And it's a really, really unique feature for the community because you really get to know someone through their digital presence.
Totally.
And that's a great way to do it cumulatively.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I mean, there's other really cool stuff on there too. Like we built out a whole bunch of features on different businesses, and not just restaurants, but Caesars and different stuff like that. So people can go on there and get an in-depth kind of look at what's going on in the city, which is really cool. And the other part I think is a huge resource that we haven't totally tapped into is thank you to you for Scottsdale Top Docs. So we're going to integrate that in there. So anybody looking for, the top dentist or the top physical therapist or top
Orthopedic
surgeon, it's going to be right there. Because we really, truly want it to be one resource for the whole community.
It's mind-blowing really to see what it is becoming
Mm-hmm.
and how useful it has been. Because you're right, there wasn't one place
Totally.
where people could go and look, what are the hot weekend events? So you have something else that you do that like kind of, if you are interested and you're not really sure and you don't want to look it up all the time, you can get fed that info, right?
Yeah, totally. So weekly we do the Weekender, which is just like what's going on in the Valley for the weekend. And it's an email, so you got to sign up for that one. And then Sarah puts together a monthly newsletter that kind of addresses like what's coming up, like spring training or Barrett Jackson or, Waste Management Open. So
Easter brunch.
a little bit of both,
Mhm.
right? So the most you're going to get is like 5 emails a month.
Mhm.
So it's not like obtrusive. It's not going to drive you nuts, but it really is killer information.
Gotta subscribe.
Yeah, absolutely.
You gotta do it.
Sign up today.
It really
Yep.
is useful, and it's a visual, like you can see the actual ad for the event, and it's beautifully designed, and then you can click and it takes you right to the thing. So you guys did like a really good job at building that. It just is very well
built it. She did a
formatted.
great job at it.
It's
sure.
gorgeous. So I know a little bit, but the community really doesn't about each of you. So John, I know you are a veteran.
Yeah.
So it's amazing, one, to get to do work with you because I think that you're masterful. You can do 50 things in your head at once and people don't really realize that
Sometimes.
because you're kind of a regular Joe too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're approachable and you're friendly. And that's also why you wanted to work with Sarah. She's
Totally.
the same way. And, but people don't know that much about why you wanted to do this for the community. So tell us a little about the vision,
Sure.
how it started, and then, we'll go to Sarah next.
Yeah. So the whole thing is a team, right? So, and you've been like the team from pretty much day one. So it was always built to provide the community just an amazing resource and a place to kind of gather and collaborate and talk and chat because it didn't really exist. And we have such an influx of tourists and residents and new residents and people just didn't know where to go, what to do, how to reach out. And especially during COVID is when we really took off.
Yes.
Because everybody's stuck at home and they're like, what do I do? I'm driving myself crazy. So it was kind of built to really pull the community together. And the best thing that's happened out of all of it is like the team that came out of it. So whether it's with you or with Sarah or Karin or Donna or, the tons of people that are involved behind the scenes. I mean, it takes a lot of effort, right?
Yeah.
It's literally 1 million interactions a month, and we pretty much touch every single one of them. So it's a lot of work, but the community just seems to love it, and the website was just a natural progression from that. Because it's hard to, Facebook gets a little goofy on searching and everything else. So it was just way easier to create a website that had all the information in it. So yeah, I love it. It's been a blast.
Yeah, really cool. Tell me how your business experience kind of helped you shape the community so that it actually is neighborly and why that was important to you.
Yeah, it's tough, right? So, I mean, as a real estate broker in town, I know the city really, really well. But one of the things I really wanted to have was like a really open, friendly atmosphere because it's hard. I mean, you get the keyboard warriors, you get the people that are half crazy. I mean, like right now.
And they forget people are real people on the internet.
100%.
They live 3 blocks from you.
Yeah, totally.
And you're going to run into them somewhere.
Door,
Yeah, people will see you and they know how you interact based on how you were online. So this is a community group. We have to remember that.
Right.
And that's how we encourage people to behave.
Yeah.
Like, we get visitors and we get a ton of tourists on our platforms.
But these are your neighbors.
These are your neighbors.
Yeah. So and that's been a really hard part, right? But I mean, we have a great moderator team, a great admin team, and we're all over it. So, I mean, like right now, President Biden's in town. Everybody's got an opinion about it.
That was so funny. So, the thread on that was hilarious.
Blowing up.
What's going on over by the Princess?
I know, right?
Traffic's blocked from the 101 to Scottsdale, Frank Lloyd Wright. That whole thing blew up. It was funny.
Yeah. And I mean, so literally it had to come down, unfortunately. Because I mean, people are they just go after each other, It
really did turn into kind of like, it's interesting. Everybody has an opinion.
Yep.
We know how those are. But we try to keep it neighborly, and that's a big deal. We didn't want it to turn politically divisive.
Yeah.
And that's like a big thing. Sarah, I know a little bit about your background, but not that much. So I know you started over at Hula Frog, but I want to know how you really like got into a space of like doing stuff online. What did you do before? Tell us.
So before, what I went to college for was interior design. So I used to be a commercial interior designer, and I was in sales in that field.
Yeah. What do you think of our room?
Like 10 lifetimes ago. And then I moved all over the country for my husband's job, and finding things to do in different areas of the country, and being a mom, having young kids at the time. I really relied on being able to Google and find everything in my area. I mean, like, from real estate, just moving and trying to figure out where are you going to live in this area. And we lived all over the East Coast and Midwest. And so I had kind of dove into Hula Frog, which was a company that was all about finding fun things to do for parents with young kids. And it started in New Jersey, used it all the time, loved finding fun things to do. And then kind of went from there of joined Hula Frog and created a site in New York, and then brought it here to Scottsdale when I moved here. So that was kind of the whole goal of it. It was a business directory and finding things to do with kids and stuff like that. Easy for parents. But the intent with this was to kind of take some of that idea, but make it for all ages of everyone. So with Scottsdale being such a big destination and influx of people moving here. I mean, gosh, how many people move here?
It's crazy. It's, 1,700, 2,200 a month. So
and
it's nuts.
We're vacation capital, all this stuff. So it's
bachelorette parties galore.
We need all of this information for all ages and stuff. So it's like, no, we need it for everyone. So it's kind of fun to build this.
So tell me, like, interior design to online event web, what was that?
I know that it's weird.
Like web design.
The progression.
And I feel like, I don't know if this is for everyone or if this is more female driven, but being able to pivot, business-wise in your field, I feel like is a big move that we as women kind of more so have to make, maybe. I don't know. Maybe anyone has to or needs to at different points in their lives.
Life events.
Sure.
Life events change the circumstance under which you thought you were going to interact
Marriage, kids,
with the world.
Movement, jobs, the whole thing.
So, I worked in commercial interior design in sales in that field and was traveling back and forth between Ohio Kentucky and Indiana when I had my first baby. And my husband was in med school at the time. So
Wow,
I was literally driving and pumping like in between 3 states and stuff. And then we had to move to New Jersey. And so at that point in New Jersey, I was either going to have to commute in and out of Manhattan to be in the type of field that I was in pretty much. And that just realistically was not an option. I mean, my husband was working like 90 hours a week and we had a baby. And so I was like, just kind of held off on all of that. And I know I told you this, but I went through cancer in my 20s and stuff. And so there was just a change in my life at that point of being like, I'm going to enjoy my life and I'm not going through cancer. I'm healthy. I want to have fun, enjoy every minute. And so I kind of made it my mission for my family that we were going to suck the life out of everywhere that we lived. So when we lived in New Jersey, we went everywhere. We were all over. We explored that whole side of the country. We lived in New York. We lived in Chicago. I mean, we were like all over, and it was like exhausting, everything that you can possibly do and have like the most fun in that area while you're there, because I didn't know how long we have in any given place.
Oh my
And honestly,
gosh.
I look at my life as I don't know how long I would ever have.
Sure.
Like I honestly didn't think that I would have lived this long. I'm 44 now, and I'm like,
I'm glad you're here.
I didn't think I would live this long. I was 23 when I was first diagnosed with cancer. So, so really making things fun and bringing other people joy and like creating fun things to do and bringing people together and watching them all laugh and smile is kind of what I like to do. And I have just been able to do that. I mean, a lot of the stuff that I've done with this career has been self-taught. I mean, I taught myself how to build websites. I taught myself a lot. I mean, Hula Frog definitely taught me a lot. I was with Hula Frog for 8 years and learned all kinds about media, news segments, everything from that point of view. But really the bringing fun and having fun and making it accessible so everyone can have fun. I just hate the idea of like not having access to information.
Sure.
That it's like, I'm trying to find things to do, but I can't find anything to do. Well, there's 5 million things to do. So if you can't find something to do in Scottsdale, you're not looking in the right places.
Right.
And it was hard because there wasn't one place of finding everything. So it's like, nope, I'm going to put it all in one place. And then every time someone asks a question, it's like, there's the Scottsdale Living. You can find it on there.
Yeah, totally.
We have it all on there right now.
It just really brings purpose to the whole thing and ties it together that was like a mission of yours. And that you actually help the community to do things that are really important to you personally. And no wonder it's like really successful. I think I've heard 500 angles of like why something exists, and that's very purposeful. So I love it.
I know it's crazy,
I love
isn't it?
that.
It's a great job.
It is. Well,
It's
and
like
like John built the community as bringing the community together.
Yeah.
Totally.
And
very cohesive.
Being where I was at with Hula Frog in the past and being in different areas of the country, that was a big part of being in like every single local group. And Scottsdale Living there was no question. It was by far the best group. I mean, the fact that you do have all these moderators and make sure when people are being mean or if someone's just getting on there to trash a business, it's like, no, this isn't the place for this. This is the community where we support each other. We build each other up. We try to highlight, unique businesses in the area, stuff like that. And I really liked the positive aspect of it. And the fact that it wasn't just like, people going on and trying to sell their business or advertise for their business.
100%.
It would be someone going on and asking for a recommendation. And then you're getting recommended. Someone says, I need a handyman. And you're getting recommendations from people who have actually used the handyman. And they're like, this is a person to use. I love that. I was already using Scottsdale Living for my own, personal benefit of like getting recommendations and stuff. So knowing that you guys didn't have a website, you had all of this great content. And I wanted to build this website that would kind of have everything. It was like, this just became bigger and better than I think anything either of us ever had an idea would come. Yeah.
I mean, it started off and it was like, oh, this is going to be like a cool little side project. And I mean, now it's like 8,500 pages of just insane content. But like one thing, the website will always kind of mimic the group, right? And like we lead the group to be your neighbor, to be friendly, to be uplifting, to be positive. We do a lot of stuff in the community as far as like politics is a great example. So, I mean, we talk to everybody that's running for city council or mayor or whatever.
That wants to.
Yeah, 100%. It's an open show, so they're always welcome to come on, and then we get trash on that sometimes, or probably me more than anything else.
Because you're the host, it lands like with you, but you're like, hey, anybody that wants to can come on and have a conversation.
And everybody, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, we want that to carry through on the website as well. It's not political. It's not about any one business. It's not about any one thing. It's just about Scottsdale in general. And, we want to share all the information we possibly can with everybody that sees it and comes to town or lives here.
One of the things that I do love about Scottsdale Living, and the reason that I became so active on it and really just ignored other community groups altogether, was because I have a voice and I can interact in this way. And because I do that and people are responding to it, now I have visibility in the community.
Totally. Yeah.
And it's based on that reputation of reaction for the things that I think are important. And it is my digital footprint. People got to know me.
You're the digital mayor at this point, Amber.
Like, I like helping people.
Totally.
People want to know about the fires happen. Like, what can we do to help? And it's just I just hate Nextdoor. It's so negative, and it's so, it just feels so nitpicky and like tacky interaction. It's cringe. It's like watching Curb Your Enthusiasm. Like, I can't look away, but like, what's next? And so like, it just feels so different than that. And it's helpful. It's really helpful. So it's a natural transition there. I think that too, one of the things that we as Scottsdale understand is like so many people are coming in.
Yeah.
And so they may not necessarily be our neighbors, but they have second homes here or they're coming to visit. So we still have to interact with them that way. But tell me about what that is. Yeah, we do a little.
Yeah.
And so what does that look like? Like, what percentage of the page or the traffic or the website is devoted to like things people want to do when they come and visit from New York, LA, like Texas, wherever they are? Like, what's the draw to come to the website for them?
Well, I mean, I'll kick it over to Sarah in a second, but the crazy thing to remember is like most people that live in Scottsdale are not from Scottsdale, right? So a native is like few and far between. So the same stuff that applies to tourists really applies to the residents. And the other thing that I found, especially through the website, which is kind of crazy, is that people who live in North Scottsdale don't necessarily go to South Scottsdale. And people in South Scottsdale don't go to North Scottsdale.
There's a barrier. It's like an invisible,
it's called
bubble.
shade.
Yeah,
it's
that's what I was thinking is a shade. It's the drive, I think, but it's okay.
So that's been really kind of interesting to see people discovering different places as well, So it's like, oh my gosh, I've never been to Uncle Sal's,
Yeah.
Well, because it's not in your hood, right? But but to kick it over to you, I mean, how did you find that building that out was?
I mean, I think a lot of it does kind of cross over like that because I mean, so one big page on like section of the site is Destination Scottsdale. And that has everything from travel guides, tour companies, like destination travel guides. So like the Sedona guide. So like if you're going to do a road trip from Scottsdale, but like hotels and stuff. So like hotels, it's not just like we have a list of here's all the hotels. It's broken down into where to stay with kids. And it's like there's the best water slides and lazy river and, all of that kind of stuff, to where to stay for the best romantic hotels, the splurge-worthy like rooms and cool suites and, all kinds of stuff like that. So you can really like specifically whatever it is you're looking for. If you're like, we want to do a staycation here or we're traveling here, you can look specifically for that. I need a pet-friendly hotel. Here's the guide. So it's like you can find everything broken down to exactly what you're looking for.
Ooh, I wonder if we have dog-friendly restaurants.
We do.
We do, actually.
What?
Yeah, I know, right? It's crazy.
Oh, there's a whole pet life guide.
Yeah.
You can find everything. Pet sitters, pet trainers, vets, everything. But yeah, pet-friendly restaurant patios is a big one. We just did that one last month.
Insane, right? It's like every friggin' thing that could possibly happen in Scottsdale's on there. So it's kind of nutty.
Yeah, if I think of it or someone asks it, I'm like, oh, we'll build the guide for that.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, it really is amazing. I'm really impressed with what you guys have done, what you've built. And I'm just happy I can like kind of tag along and help it grow. And is there anything else that you guys must want to share about the website or the community that you're like, this is super impressive and I just wish more people understood that we can do this?
Well, so I mean, the whole time that this has been built, as you know, is to help our community engage with our businesses too, right? So we always want to be able to share who our local small businesses are, what they do, and introduce them to the people in the community. So that's been a huge part of it. And you started Scottsdale Living Business Edition, so that's right. So we want to incorporate all of that in there as well. But I think one of the things we definitely want to know is you. So we're going to flip the switch on you a little bit. So
okay.
let's talk about Dr. Enright.
I was not prepared.
From DC to Hawaii to going to school in Northern Arizona. What are you doing here?
Well, I'm a small town girl at heart. I really
Sounds
am.
like a Journey song.
Yeah, I grew up in a really conservative small town, but born in San Francisco, so I'm wild at heart. But I mean, I went to school at NAU and it was like a polar opposite. It went from like military town to hippies and like forest parties. And so I have a little bit of that like flavor, but big cities overwhelmed me like completely. And I lived in Hawaii and I literally lived on Kauai. There was like, you know, you can drive around the entire island and it stops and you have to hike out like one road.
Right.
And so I always felt really comfortable in small places. When I go to big cities, I did a rotation in Chicago, I did one in DC, and then I traveled. And I was such a homebody that I couldn't make friends places because I was so introverted. I know this sounds crazy now because I talk to people for a living, but I would cry if a stranger approached me to have a conversation.
Wow.
That doesn't sound like you at all.
The opposite of what I am now. And so growing and traveling forced me to try to make connections with people. And so, you know, when I lived in DC, Meetup was the thing, not community Facebook groups.
Right.
And so I would be like, oh, I want to go find something for like meetups for Australian Shepherds because I had one.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I met people. But it would take me 6 weeks in a new place to get the gumption to like go sit somewhere for 2 hours before I felt comfortable talking to people. Things like these Facebook groups don't require me to physically be present.
Sure.
They allow me to sit at home and be myself online and be what my heart wants to interact as with the community in that way. And that gave me the confidence to then go and place myself physically because people did know me online already. So that I had already digitally handshaked them.
Yeah, it's a warm introduction, right?
Yeah, and known that I was going to know some people there. And that made me feel more comfortable to interact. So now we do all of these events and it's like, you know, poker night or the Women's Day event, Pamper and Play, like the fall festival. And it really came out of my own need and my own discomfort and my own insecurities to try to help people that way. So like during COVID, you said the group grew.
Sure.
And the business edition like literally bloomed because my insecurity was my business would fail because not enough people knew me. So I wanted to meet other people, other business owners. And we started with 8 people in a coffee shop. That's what it started at. And it's over 1,800 members now because I knew that all the people that were asking for something on the Facebook group needed the same things I was. I don't care how fancy their suit and car and house are. They may not have everything that you think that they have. They have the same exact needs that I do. And my insecurity was that they were going to not interact with me as the same kind of person. And now look, of course they do. So I wanted to create an environment that did that. John, he's just a yes person. And so it was easy to say, hey, I'd like to do this. And he's like, yeah, that makes sense. And it's on brand. Like it's on brand with what he wanted. So I got to do that. And literally I have blossomed over this like 4 or 5 year experience of being able to be in front of people and people are like, you're so confident. I'm like, I didn't own those skills 10 years ago. You know what I mean? Like I didn't. I could talk to my friends and my peers. But like if you saw me in high school, I was probably looking down at my feet and could have run into a wall. I was friends with everyone.
Right.
Like, right? Gilbert's like literally a product of this. I met him in high school. He's a behind the scenes guy. Yeah. Met him in high school. We were friends and now we work together. Like I am a person loyalist and I think that people in the community like that. And I think that they are too, but they just need more ways to know their neighbors. So it just fit with what I like. It helped me grow. And that probably sounds really cheesy, but it did. And it also then gave me brand recognition for my business because people only know my business because they wanted to know me, not the other way around. I don't advertise my business. So people are like, oh, well, what does she do? Great. Then they're going to go look me up. That's it.
And what you've built is helping so many other businesses.
That's
just the meeting this morning and learning about who to hire and background checks and stuff like that. It's like everything you guys are doing in these bi-monthly meetings. Is that the right term? Bi-monthly? I
Twice
always
a
mix
month.
up the first
Yeah,
part
that
of the month.
sounds
Is that every
great.
other
Yeah.
month or is that?
Throw it out there.
I always mix
First
that
and
up.
third Wednesday.
The
There's a range.
fortnight
Yeah.
and
It's like, you come and you learn, you meet other business owners in the area, but you also learn something.
it's all the
too.
insecurities that we have that we don't know. And it helps
Exactly.
us provide resource. Just like you said, well, if somebody asked me a question like, can I go somewhere with my dog to the patio?
Mhm.
You then answer that. So we all think the same way.
Yeah,
Mhm.
totally.
It's to serve ourselves and the community. And everything that serves the community then helps us individually. So
100%.
I
Yeah.
really believe in that. It helps me elevate, like Scottsdale Top Docs.
Which is taking
That's a
off, by
whole
the way. It's
thing.
fantastic. It's crazy to see.
And that started with 8 PTs that I was
Mhm.
asking, like, what do you charge? What do you actually do? Like, what are you the best at? Because, like, I know you're a PT and I don't know what you do.
Mhm.
One's like a pelvic floor. Like, people don't know that, over 50% of people over 40 have some form of incontinence or women who have given birth. And so you need a special kind of therapist. And they don't even know who to go to for that or how to talk about it. People with, cancer.
Mhm.
There's a special kind of therapist that you can see for that. It's not the one that you go to that does 30 leg exercises. So it's just an information basis. And I just want people to be able to communicate and find the best of something. And I think, again, it's on brand with the website, even though I'm not really super involved in that. But I love that the things that we're doing end up growing this basis of knowledge for the community.
Yeah.
So thanks for that.
Absolutely. There you go. It's a softball we tossed to you.
Woo!
Yeah.
Yeah, well, this has been a great interview. I absolutely love that we have this resource for the community. So what is the website?
It's thescottsdaleliving.com.
Boom. And don't forget to join us on Scottsdale Living, Tempe Living, Phoenix Living. And if we're on Instagram,
Scottsdale Living AZ, and on TikTok and on YouTube, where this will be.
yeah.
Spotify, Apple, Google, pretty much anywhere you look, right?
Yeah, and
We're
we
gonna be
have this
there.
podcast.
ScottsdaleTopDocs.com.
Yeah. And we're actually sitting in our podcast studio.
Yeah.
Man, this is crazy how this is possible. We have a podcast studio, you guys.
Yeah.
And if you haven't used it, we are sitting in it right now and it can be kind of tailored to anything we need.
100%.
We
Yeah.
got like 50 different sets you can use. It's kind of ridiculous, but come on by, check it out.
Love
People
it.
can rent it out, right? And-
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Shoot the podcast, do the whole thing.
Yeah, we're in the heart of Old Town, right behind Gilligan's. If you don't know where that is, check it out. It's a cool little unique bar downtown. Yeah, but we'll check in. John's here all the time.
I am.
All
Yep.
right. Thank you guys so much for being on.
Thank you, Amber.
Thanks
That
for
has
having me.
Yeah, that has been our episode of Thus. Let's redo that.
Yeah. Our episode.
Thanks for coming on to our
Thank you.
episode. Yeah, thank you,
Thanks for
Sarah.
having us.
Of course. That's been today's episode of the Scottsdale Living podcast.